Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.
You're watching South Asia Newsline and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 28th of January. Trump discusses trade immigration with PM Modi, says India will do what's right for immigrants. Water crisis deepens in POGB as filtration plants fall into disrepair. And WFP says aid cuts to Afghanistan leaves million hungry this winter. And now for all the details. Hours after a phone call between the two, US President Donald Trump has said that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was likely to visit the White House in February and added that America has a good relationship with India, though the Indian government has not officially confirmed a visit to the US. During the phone call, both leaders discussed bilateral ties between the two biggest democracies and emphasized their shared commitment to work together for global peace and stability. They also discussed Indo-Pacific Quad partnership with India hosting Quad leaders for the first time later this year. Trump also said that PM Modi will do what is right when it comes to taking back Indian immigrants who came to the US illegally. This came after a report last week claimed India has agreed to take back some 18,000 Indian immigrants living illegally in the US. This is the first time that the leaders had a word after US President took charge of the office for a second time. Signaling a thaw in relations between New Delhi and Beijing, India's Foreign Ministry on Monday said both countries have decided to resume the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra and direct air services after nearly 5 years of border dispute. In a statement released following the visit of India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri to Beijing, India's Foreign Ministry said during the visit, both sides reviewed the state of India-China bilateral relations comprehensively and agreed to take certain people-centric steps to stabilize and rebuild ties. The statement added the both sides will negotiate a framework on the flights in a meeting that will be held at an early date. China's Foreign Ministry confirmed this on Tuesday, adding that another meeting between officials at the vice ministerial level agreed to facilitate the exchange of journalists between the two countries. Tensions soared between the two nations after the 2020 clash, following which India made it difficult for Chinese companies to invest in the country, banned hundreds of popular apps and severed passenger routes. However, relations have improved over the past 4 months with several high-level meetings, including talks between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Russia in October. Moving on, the water crisis in Gilgit Baltistan continues to worsen, leaving residents without reliable access to clean drinking water. As filtration plants remain in disrepair, the region's health and safety are in jeopardy.
The water crisis in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan has continued to worsen as many of the region's filtration plants have not been repaired, leaving residents without access to clean drinking water. The residents of POGB are facing a rise in waterborne diseases as they are forced to rely on unsafe sources. Many of the plants are in disrepair due to lack of routine maintenance and repair, while others are locked, inaccessible to the communities who desperately need them.
अभी तक जीडीए के अपनी टैंकी के अंदर जो है ना पानी स्टार्ट नहीं किया। जो सामने जो वाला टैंकी है ये वासा का टैंकी है, उसमें अपने जीडीए के जो लाइन है वहाँ पे पानी मतलब इन किया है। उसके बाद जो मेन पुराने लाइनों से जो है ना अभी पानी इशू है, जिस तरीके से होना चाहिए अभी तक नहीं हुआ है। प्रॉपर प्रेशर से पानी नहीं आ रहा है। और दूसरी बात ये है कि यहाँ के जो लोग हैं इतने पानी के लिए इतने मसाइल उठाने पड़ते हैं कि जब ये कोई इमरजेंसी में या कोई पानी में कोई इशू आता है, नीचे बिजली नहीं होता तो लोग बहुत परेशान होते हैं। पानी के लिए बहुत ही जो है ना परेशानी का सामना करना पड़ता है।
With the inadequate water supply infrastructure and a growing demand for clean water, residents are left struggling to meet their basic needs. As the occupied region grapples with this crisis, the health and well-being of its residents continues to be at risk.
The UN World Food Programme Director has said that despite improvements to food insecurity situation in Afghanistan, around one-third of its population is classified to be in acute hunger. Even though the number of Afghans in acute hunger has decreased from 23 million in 2021 during the peak of the current food crisis to the current number of 15 million, that figure still makes up to a third of the country's population. Moreover, the food agency can only feed half the millions of Afghans in need after cuts in international aid and an impending freeze in US foreign funding, she said. Afghanistan was tipped to the brink of economic crisis in 2021 as the Taliban took over and all development and security assistance to the country was frozen, with restrictions also placed on the banking sector. Since then, humanitarian aid aimed at funding urgent needs through non-profit organizations and bypassing government control has filled some of the gap. But donors have been cutting steadily in recent years, concerned by Taliban restrictions on women, including their order that Afghan female NGO employees stop work.
We've seen levels of food insecurity. In August 2021, there was this massive massive deterioration in food security, just rapid levels of hunger that rose. And that winter, we saw the IPC, people in acute hunger at 23 million people. And now we're just a little bit shy of 15. So in that respect, it seems like things are a lot better. But 15 million people is still 1/3 of the country. And it's 1/3 of the population who are really struggling.
Moving on, Sri Lanka's President Anurakkumara Dissanayake has said even though the surface level indicators may suggest economic recovery, the overall economy of the island nation remains severely damaged. The president made the remarks during an event to mark International Customs Day. He said simply achieving revenue targets is not enough to rebuild a collapsed economy and that addressing the economic crisis requires increasing the revenue to GDP ratio. The economic collapse has significantly disrupted the import-export market, he said. The president added it is essential to approach the recovery process cautiously and with balance. Even a small mistake can cause significant disruptions to the economy. Therefore, the Customs Department must work collectively to achieve its targeted revenue of 2,550 billion rupees, he said. India on Tuesday summoned the Sri Lankan High Commissioner after the Sri Lankan Navy opened fire during the apprehension of 13 Indian fishermen in close proximity to Delt Island. In a statement, India's Foreign Ministry said that New Delhi had lodged a strong protest with the Sri Lankan envoy over the incident, with the Indian High Commission also raising the matter with the Sri Lankan government in Colombo. Reiterating India's stance, the statement added that India has always emphasized the need to address issues related to fishermen in a human and humanitarian manner, keeping in mind their livelihood concerns. The use of force is not acceptable under any circumstances whatsoever. Existing understandings between the two governments in this regard must be strictly observed, the statement from New Delhi said. The prolonged dispute over fishing rights has been a source of tension between India and Sri Lanka for many years, as they share an expansive oceanic border without clear demarcation. Fishermen from both sides frequently stray into each other's water while netting their catch, often resulting in their arrest and prolonged imprisonment. And giving up of hope to retrieve his body, family of Binod Bahadur Sunowar, who was killed in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, conducted his last rites using representational body Kush, a sacred grass of Hindus. Binod was among hundreds of Nepalis who had left their homeland with hopes of earning money to build a home but got perished in a foreign war zone.
The narrow lanes of Kathmandu's outskirts echoed with mournful wails as the Sunowar family gathered to bid farewell to their son without his body. Instead, a symbolic figure made of Kush, a sacred Hindu grass, lay in place of Binod Bahadur Sunowar, who perished in war thousands of miles away in Ukraine. Binod had once worn the uniform of the Nepal army and served in a UN peacekeeping mission. He had saved every rupee with dreams of building a home in Kathmandu for his family. But dreams come at a cost, and his cost was his life. He left behind a grieving widow, a heartbroken mother, and his 15-year-old son Bigyan, who was now forced to perform his father's last rites.
छोरा रुसमा गएको रुसमा मृत्यु भयो आउँछ होला भनेर वर्ष दिन पुग्यो आसोजना आउँछ होला भने कति ठुलो आशा थियो लास पनि आइन जीव पनि आइन यस्तो पीडामा पार्यो त्यसले आर्मी जागिर खाएको वहाँ जानु पनि त्यसलाई केही पनि खाँचो थिएन.
Despite repeated warnings from the Nepal government against becoming foreign mercenaries, Russia's war on Ukraine has lured many young men from Nepal with promises of hefty salaries. Official data from September 2024 confirmed at least 43 Nepali deaths in the war, though the true number is feared to be much higher. While the Nepal government has imposed a travel ban to Russia and Ukraine in order to stop the exodus of its young men to the battlefield, the foreign ministry has remained largely silent on the issue. Desperate families continue to seek information about their missing loved ones, hoping for news that may never come.
फर्केर पनि आइन अब कहाँ भेट्नु र कहाँ हेर्नु र भेटिँदैन होला कहाँ भेट्नु र अब गयो अब बर मेसेजै नगएर 2-3 वर्ष बसे पनि छै भनेर मनमा पिर त हुँदैन थियो होला.
That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.
Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.